Thank you all very much for joining the call. I'm really excited to have you on this call with me today. I recently started at the County of Monterey as their sustainability program manager, and I'm new to the county. I'm actually from the East Coast, so brand new to Monterey, and I am really thrilled to be able to get as much feedback from the community in this phase of our program development. And that's why we're undertaking this survey. The sustainability program at the county has kind of lapsed. So there hasn't actually been anyone in this role in about 3 years. And so I'm taking up the reins again, and just really wanted to emphasize to you how important it is for me to hear feedback from the community as I begin this role. My background is in sustainability and bioenergy, but brand new to the county, and so really wanting to hear from each and every one of you. And I want to let you know, hand selected by myself or someone else at the county or our partners at Green Power, because we believe that you can provide really good insight for us as we set our sustainability goals for the county. And it's interesting times, but we're looking ahead. We're looking at a 10-year timeline for our goals. So we're going to be looking at the year 2030, and we want to be able to hear from the community so that when we go to create those goals, we are in alignment with all of our stakeholders and representatives, and that we've really had a very involved stakeholder process. And so that's a little bit about why we have invited you to this call, and I'm really happy that you're interested in learning more. And just to share a little bit about myself, I recently, before coming to Monterey, was working as the sustainability program manager for a company in the private sector called Veolia, and I had the same role there, basically to operationalize our sustainable development goals within the company to achieve those targets. And so the program that I'm looking at setting up here has a similar kind of feel. I really believe that sustainability is a cross-cutting endeavor, and it's not just about this one person that works in the sustainability office, acting in a silo. It's about reaching out across other departments. And at the county, there are a lot of other departments that I'm planning to have involved in our development of our sustainability program. So, I'll talk a little bit more about how that will come into play, but the point is that, I want this to be a collaborative effort, and I have some experience doing that. And then prior to that, I worked for renewable energy companies, doing grant writing, and worked for the Department of Energy in their Energy Efficiency and Renewables Energies Department. And I also have a background in fermentation. So if there are any vintners on the phone, I have a special place in my heart for fermentation and craft beer and wine. So just a little bit about me, and really excited to get to know all of you throughout this process. All right, so as I mentioned, the goal of what we're doing is to recalibrate sustainability within the county. And the last time that we really did outreach like this that I'm aware of was in the year 2014. And so it's definitely time to come back in and reset what's going on. Also, due to that lapse in having a sustainability program manager, we're really needing to go back out and learn more about how to put our program back together. Okay, So in order to do that, I'm going to be putting together a materiality matrix based off of the responses from the survey that I'm sending out. And I have approximately 200 stakeholders, internal and external, like I said, that are intended to be representative of the County of Monterey and the various communities. And I'm very happy to make that list available, just the names of the groups that are involved in the outreach. And, you know, if you feel that a particular industry is missing or there's something that should be on there that isn't, happy to consider an addition to the list. So what the survey does is it takes, it's a pretty straightforward survey. There's, you know, 10, 20 topics on the survey, and you'll have a chance to rank how important that topic is as it relates to sustainability in Monterey County. So for example, if the topic says biodiversity, it would say, you know, how important is biodiversity to sustainability in Monterey County? And then you can rank the topic from 1 to 5. And what happens is we have an overlay that we undertake. So external stakeholders versus internal stakeholders, and we map out the importance of each topic, and it kind of falls somewhere in this arena. And so topics that are significant to external and internal stakeholders end up over here in this upper right hand quadrant, and we can pull out those topics that, you know, the whole community as well as the internal stakeholder, which is the county government, you know, feel are important. And there's another key to this, and it's whether that topic is actionable, or the in this case, you know, can the county government have an impact on it, and how great can that impact be? And so the internal stakeholders at the county will have a chance to rank the impact of that the county can have, and so that'll relate to the size of the bubble over here. Small ones are those that we couldn't potentially have as much impact on, and the county can have an impact on most sustainability topics. So a lot of those will be big, but in any case, it helps us to choose goals for our sustainability program, because one of the things that we really need is to have that direction, and we need to be able to always kind of go back to those goals, whatever it is that we're doing. If we're, you know, working with our external stakeholders to write a new ordinance, or if we're, you know, enacting some kind of program or going after specific grant funds, we want to be able to have these goals to guide us. And in addition, this is probably the very first step that we'll be taking as we begin to look at our 2030 Community Climate Action Plan. And I'm not going to go into too much detail about what a climate action plan is here if you're not familiar, but essentially it is our chance as the county to take a look at where greenhouse gas emissions are coming from, and then set strategies for reductions in those emissions in line with the AB 32 scoping plan. And so the next target, just for your reference, is to decrease our emissions from 40% from 1990 levels by 2030. So these goals that we're setting in the sustainability program are supposed to align with that goal in 2030, and that's why we're using that 2030 timeline. And, you know, I expect to have regular updates on the goals, but one of the things that I think can happen, and I don't want that to happen, is that we can kind of get stuck in planning phase. And I do want to make sure that we are often taking action towards meeting the goals. This is the general concept, and like I said, it's the beginning of what could become a broader relationship as well with you, if you'd like it to be that way. You know, if you're responding to this survey and you have an interest in and passion for some of the topics that come out, you could choose to be part of the future process where we, develop our strategies and so on. But ultimately, what we're trying to do here is get into alignment with our community on what our sustainability goals should be. So that's the short explanation. So what I'm really asking, is what does sustainability mean to you? Capital U, so that that's you as you represent your specific industry or alliance or trade group. And so please think with a broad mind about what sustainability can mean. And I put up this these are small sample of types of topics that you could find. And what I like to do here is say that there's going to be some topics on the survey that you may feel are less important, and that's great. But we're basing our topics off of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And there's a wide range of goals here. They're related to social, environmental, and economic goals that could lead to a healthy, long-term, balanced, and harmonized society. So that's the idea. So, you see things on here like no poverty and zero hunger, and some people don't exactly relate that to sustainability. And sometimes we're thinking, okay, well, what does that have to do with my environment? And one of the examples that I like to give is in terms of our housing crisis and homelessness, and how that can relate to the environment and green buildings and so on. So when we go out into the world and we create healthier buildings that are energy efficient, well insulated, and these buildings, they reduce energy demand. So that reduces the cost of energy burden on a low income population. And it also, they tend to be a lot healthier air-wise. So, you're seeing, I think the healthy homes statistic is 95% less particulate matter in an energy efficient, high performance passive house than it is in a regular house. And so, then you're therefore taking away some of the effects of having unclean air in your house. So when you're improving air quality, there's kind of a trickle down effect, and a lot of this stuff is related. So in order to have the kind of society that is sustainable, we're trying to address not just environmental issues, we're also trying to address equity issues and social issues as well. And I think that's, it's really important to be thinking about the society as a whole when we look at our environmental goals. So this is a partial list of the Monterey County specific topics that are in the survey. So I kind of color coded them here so that you can pick out quickly those that are environmental versus those that are social versus those that are economic. And like I said, these are based on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, but they've been fleshed out to be more specific to Monterey County. And they're broad, and they're meant to be, because these are overarching goals. And once we come up with our shorter list of goals, we will be able to have more specific key performance indicators associated with each goal. And those represent, how are we getting to our overarching target? So I'll just give an example. I think, if in the emissions goal, this is an easy one. If we are saying overall we want to reduce our emissions by 40% by the year 2030, then underneath of that goal, there would be a little bit more detailed key performance indicators to show how we're doing that in various sectors. So like you can imagine, there might be a goal around buildings, or there might be a goal around transportation, and so on. And so and when I say goal, what I really mean there is a key performance indicator. So how are we reaching the overarching goal with underlying strategies? If you have any questions about these, I welcome them. And kind of just sharing again that they are pulled from this list with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and broken out into smaller, more specific topics for this county. All right, so this is just intended to kind of demonstrate that we do have a plan of action, and this is what our targets look like for completing the various parts of our timeline, because we want this to be, this survey, you're going to put your time into it, and we want to take the information that we get out of it, and we want to use it in a way that allows us to move forward. So it's really important to me to get this feedback and make an action item out of it. So some of this work we've already completed. These topics have been shared with the AEE committee. So the AEE committee is the Alternative Energy and Environment Committee at Monterey County. And that's pretty much where we discuss all things sustainability. We are currently meeting bi-monthly, and Supervisor Jane Parker and Supervisor Chris Lopez are the two committee members that are on the committee and oversee kind of the actions that come out of our sustainability program. And of course, at any time, if you'd like to bring a topic to the committee, or if you want to listen in, we are now broadcasting all of our meetings over Zoom, so that's exciting. And so at my first AEE committee meeting in March, I shared these topics with the supervisors and got feedback and revised them and created this survey. And the survey itself will go out on June 1st and it will close on July 1st. So, we're really hoping to get a pretty high participation level in the survey. And then, in between July and let's say September, there's a regional climate action convening. So that's to discuss with other sustainability leaders in the local jurisdictions, climate action planning and strategies. So we'll be taking that into account since we are working on our climate action plan, our community climate action plan this year as well. And at the same time, I will be analyzing the survey results, creating that materiality matrix, and sharing that with our supervisors again at the AEE committee meeting in early September. And then once we kind of accept those goals, we will begin working on our key performance indicators and hosting task force meetings. That'll be a combination of public and private sector, as well as kind of like advocacy and nonprofit groups coming together to help us just start thinking through what our community climate action plan will look like based on some of our goals that come out of this survey. And then we'll go ahead and adopt and publish our goals. This is my hope, is to have them adopted and published by the end of this year. And then we'll continue to meet with our task forces to brainstorm our strategies to reduce our emissions. And I think I saw like a hand go up maybe. Great. So we have a question about, do you want people to share the survey when they receive it? And so I'd actually rather if you kind of bounce back to me on that. If you do think that there are others that should be receiving the survey, if you could just check in with me first, because we've taken our time to select representative industries, and we don't really want to skew it to be too much in favor of any one group. And so, we just like to make sure that it's a balanced platform. And so, I'm happy to make the list available if you want to look at it and if you think you have some additions or areas that have been missed, but we're not reaching out to the public or anything. Like, if this is a time for the representative whole to speak on this issue. So if you do think something is missing, just let me know. Don't just forward the survey. Okay. All right. And then the last thing I wanted to just quickly share with you before I kind of open this up for all kinds of questions that may come is that our 2013 Municipal Climate Action Plan update. This is, I said I wouldn't talk too much about climate action planning, but this is something that's important to me that I wanted to share so that you know that the county has made progress in reducing their emissions and plans to continue to have an inward focus and to walk the walk of what we're preaching. And so these are our county operational emissions from 2005, our projected emissions from 2020, and our goals for 2030. So our target for 2020 was to reduce our emissions 15% from 2005 levels, which 2005 is that baseline year that you see here. And that corresponds to pretty much what our 1990 levels were. So we actually are projecting that we're going to reduce emissions by 19%. So we are expecting to meet the goal. And it's mainly due to emissions reductions in our buildings. And in order to hit the 2030 goal, we need to look at going net zero in our buildings. So that's something that we are now currently undertaking and beginning to look at. We've started to look at first a pilot project at our county jail. And we haven't decided exactly to do the pilot project at the jail because it's quite complicated, as you can imagine, with security restrictions, and there's a really high energy need there, so it is a good project. But if we do get to net zero at the jail, then it'll probably be, I think, the first net zero jail in the nation. So it would be really exciting for us, and it would just kind of prove the concept of going net zero. And then we'll be able to kind of look at the rest of the county buildings and hopefully take a really strategic approach to electrify our buildings and reduce our energy demand through energy efficiency measures and get to net zero in most, if not all, of our buildings by the year 2030 and thereby reach our 2030 goal. We do have some other strategies around vehicle fleet and employee commute, which of course employee commute is very interesting right now because everyone's telecommuting, and we could easily see a 26% reduction in our employee commute emissions through telecommuting alone. So just a really interesting picture, and I just wanted to share that we are serious about this and we have a plan. So I'm going to open it up now for questions and just invite you, to reach out to me offline if you don't want to ask a question now. I'm really excited to talk to people about this topic, and I can be reached. You guys actually, I'm working from home right now, so send me an email or give me a call, whatever you need to do. Really, really looking forward to getting feedback. All right. Okay, I don't see any questions coming in, and I think in general the survey itself is really straightforward. You know, it's going to take 5 minutes or so to complete, and in your opinion and your responses are going to be really valuable for us as we go about setting our goals. And for those of you that like to or are interested in going deeper into the process with us, as we begin to form our task forces and working groups, really also love to hear from you on that. But most importantly, we want to be taking into account, you know, your perspective as we set these long-term goals and begin to develop our program strategy and create direction. So that is all. Okay, thank you guys so much. I think, oh, wait, hold on, I've got 2 chats. Okay, is the county looking to partner with cities to reduce community emissions, or primarily reducing community emissions in the unincorporated areas? That's such a great question. So, you know, I think what we're trying to do, so as to the extent possible, we do not want to interfere with, you know, I mean, with anybody's separate jurisdiction. I think that, you know, the cities, there are a lot of really great action plans coming out of the cities, and many of the cities are ahead of the county in terms of what they've been doing. So, you know, that's kind of up to the cities is what I'll say. I think we're happy to share and pool resources, you know, because it's expensive and time consuming, and to write a climate action plan. And so, you know, to the extent that we can share resources and come together and also, you know, make things, I think, less confusing for our policies. You know, I think I'll take the sort of like the single-use plastic bag ordinance as an example. I know that there's kind of like a different one that exists from city to city and then throughout the county. And so I think it would be helpful in some cases if we can work together so that we are one voice, but that can't always happen. And so what I think is that in terms of the community climate action plan, you know, we may be able to come together and sort of complete a template type of framework that's based on, and we could have some joint strategies, and we could have some joint kind of like workforces, and we could definitely share and pool resources so that we're not all spending, you know, a lot of our resources trying to come up with sort of the same framework for the outline of the documents. I do love the hazard mitigation plan, where it's able to kind of, you know, it's this 500-page document, and it's able to bring in other jurisdictions underneath of the initial framework. But I understand that it's not as much of a prescriptive, the hazard mitigation plan isn't so prescriptive as a climate action plan would be, so it may not make sense. But I do think in the case where there are jurisdictions within the county that are looking for, you know, to be a part of the climate action plan, we would certainly welcome that. Okay. All right, and that's it for questions. Thank you. Thank you for joining. And of course, again, please reach out if you have any feedback. All right, everybody have a great day.